Welcome to The More You Know, The Better It Tastes. I'm Alan Williams with San Antonio Restaurants and my business partner.
I am Susie LaFredo, and I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. Because, Susie, this is actually our 83rd edition of The More You Know, The Better It Tastes. But this is our first edition that we're going to have video. So we're really, really happy to do that.
And we wanted to make sure we had the most amazing guest as our very first
I don't even know what that
video podcast.
That's right. We have Drew Glick. He is the owner of Max and Louie's.
Thank you for having me.
Oh,
amazing.
I'm excited.
We are excited to have you here.
Yes.
I took a shower, I combed my hair, I put on my best clothes just so
ready.
we could be on video with you and try to look good. How's everything going?
Everything's great.
Yeah.
Everything is great. You know, we have summer's treating us well, and business is good, and family's great, and health is good. And
business is always good for you. I mean, Max and Louie's New York Diner, which is at 226 West Bitters, it doesn't matter when you go. It's always busy. And you do a great.
We're very, blessed. And but it's from hard work. It's not just it's fanatical hard work.
Yeah.
Sure.
Not luck.
Yeah. No,
I mean, there's some luck, I guess, involved, but I think you have to work hard to create your luck.
You do.
Absolutely.
I mean, we have so for those of you who are part of it, we have a Gold Club, and we have exciting news about that too, but that's coming soon. But anyway, a lot of people join our Gold Club because of Max and Louie's.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, so it's very cool.
Yeah,
we got
really
creative.
Cool stuff.
We did. We did.
So we wanted to have Drew on today because we want to talk about Max and Louie's and some other. We have a big reveal coming for a new thing that's coming up, but we also just want to talk about hospitality. And Drew actually owns the term Fanatical Hospitality. Is that right?
I do. I own the trademark Fanatical Hospitality.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And because it's so important. And so we want to talk about what that means, what it looks like, how do you get there, and how do other restaurant owners get there for that. So what does that mean to you, Fanatical Hospitality? What does that mean?
Well, again, first of all, I was listening to a TED Talk about a year or so ago, and the person speaking, he kept on using the word fanatical and fanatical and fanatical, and I'm like thinking, that sounds so fanatical. And we live and breathe forever the word hospitality, and we can talk about what hospitality means to me and to Danny Meyer. But the word fanatical, and I even wrote it down, is excessive and single-minded, right? Okay. So we are excessively and single-minded about providing the best hospitality for our guests. I was listening to Danny Meyer on the way here just so I can get a little refresh of what he, says from his book, which is from, it's 15 years old or 12, 13 years old.
Yeah, I've just finished reading that book myself because of your recommendation. It's excellent. It has a lot of great points.
And there's a whole, actually I pulled a little nugget out today, which I, hadn't really heard before, because when you read and you hear, it's like a little different. But they connect the dots, collect the dots to connect the dots. And as soon as I paused it and I called Dustin, my managing partner at Max and Louie's, and I said, I just pulled this little nugget out of, listening to Danny Meyer, and, we need to collect the dots so we can connect the dots, right? What's this item and this item and this item, separately, they may be good, they may not be good, they may be providing, hospitality, not providing hospitality, but when you collect them and then you connect them, what makes them connect, and then you move it into your world.
Right.
He even, I was asked to speak last year at a car dealership, sort of about hospitality, and also about, my previous life I was in the insurance sales for 18 years in New York City, and I was. My whole thing was I hated making cold calls. They would have you sit there at a phone making cold calls, and it was like torture to me.
Yeah.
So my whole world was that I had to get people to speak to that were warm or hot versus cold. So I had customers and didn't have to phone at night, to get new customers. And that's what I spoke also about. But whether it's a restaurant or it's a car dealer, whatever it is, when you go in there, you want to be treated with this fanatical hospitality.
Right.
What the definition of hospitality is exceeding expectations.
Okay.
Right? People go into, whether it's a restaurant or a car dealership, you go into your local car dealership, and different cars maybe have different, expectations.
Mm-hmm.
But you go into a car dealership and you're expecting to stand there and hopefully wait for someone to come and greet you. And if
Right.
you're wearing something nicer or not as nice, you're alone, you're with someone, or all these things impact the way people treat you, whether it's in a restaurant or in a car dealer or any type of sales, oriented, place.
Right.
So when somebody comes to, Max and Louie's, they, you go anywhere, you expect good food, good service, and good atmosphere, right?
Okay.
Our goal with every single guest is to exceed those expectations by making sure that they feel great when they leave, not just meet the expectations of they got good food, good service, and a good atmosphere.
Right.
Right. We
Yeah,
talked
it's the
about
whole
and we
Sure.
can talk about atmosphere in a minute. Which
Well,
we,
and
you
it
brought
helps
up.
it helps everybody. It helps the customer, of course, but have an amazing experience and come back. So it helps the restaurant.
Sure.
You have loyal customers, but it helps the servers as well. It helps everybody all
Yeah.
around.
Part of this whole hospitality, world, historically, the customer is always right, right? And we want the customer to always be right. I'm not saying not.
Yeah.
But if your employees come first before the guest,
Yeah.
and you treat them well, and you create an atmosphere where they want to come to work every day,
Right.
then it's impossible for them not to treat the guest right.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If it's only about the guests and you don't treat your employees right, you don't pay them well, you don't treat them well,
Right.
you don't give them the hours they need, you don't worry about what their worries are, then you're going to have a much higher turnover.
Right.
And you're going to have unhappy people, which is going to translate to unhappy guests.
Sure. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's so important, and that's a good way to put it. It's kind of radical to think about. You got the customer doesn't come first; your employees come first. But I totally believe that. I was a director of customer service at Saws for a bunch of years, and manager at different places. And I always believe that you treat your employees good, and then they want to take care of people. They want to do the good.
Yeah.
the right
And
thing.
Absolutely.
you have one of the. And I know this from experience, but you have one of the, at least from what I've heard, the best training when somebody comes in and they're a new server, even if they've had past experience at other places. You have a really good training program that's available for them, so that they're just not thrown into, okay, you need to have Radical Hospital. You actually provide an amazing training for them to understand what that means.
Our restaurant is not easy to work at. It's not hard from our standpoint.
Yeah.
It's hard because there's a 8-page menu with 180 items
Tons of people.
that are modified. Every single ticket is modified, and then we serve 7,500, 8,000 people a week. It's a very busy, very big,
Yeah.
lots of steps, restaurant. Very thankful for that, but it's not the easiest place to work. So we need to make sure, and if you don't know the story, if you don't know the menu, if you don't know the whys of Max and Louie's, then it makes it much harder to work there, and you probably won't last there.
Right.
And there was a while, when COVID hit, and we had to lay off, furlough 75 of our 85 employees at the time, and then a lot of people didn't come back to work for a while or at
Right.
all.
Yeah.
And we had to start from scratch in a lot, and we lowered our standards a little bit because we needed to get people.
Sure.
And now it's we have video training, and it's getting we're working every day about Dustin and I were just talking most of my drive here about some nuances of things that are just not the way we want it. We're trying to develop a systems for Max and Louie's as if we were a big corporation, even though we're a one-unit mom-pop restaurant.
Yeah.
If we do open another or 3 or none, at
You'll
least
have
we
it.
have this amazing systems in place to make things
Yeah,
work
it's smart.
really well.
It's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So you mentioned about training the employees well so that they know their information, and if you treat them right, they'll treat the customer right. But there's more to customer service, more to hospitality than just taking the order and being nice to somebody. You've got to. I like the way that Danny Myers says it in the book, and we keep mentioning this. It's setting the table, and Drew is holding it up. Danny Myers setting the table.
So this book, I'll tell you really quick, and I have another my like version that I use all the time that has Post-it notes and pages and highlights and all over. So this was this is 2006.
Yeah,
is when it came out.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's an older book.
It's a little bit older. Matter of fact, this just really quick. Sorry. This is this month's Food and Wine magazine.
Okay.
30 years of Gramercy Tavern,
Wow.
which is his first restaurant.
Restaurant.
And
okay.
and it's goes into, and his pictures in there, and it goes into the whole lot of
cool.
what we live by. I think one of the biggest things, and again, this is
I know
all
what
from
it was.
here,
Good.
but the emotional connection that we have with our guests, whether the first time they're there or the ones that come time after time.
Yeah.
We have a very well-known woman who's celebrating her 100th birthday this year, Rosemary Kowalski. She's at the restaurant right now.
Wow.
I was sad that she comes, at least once or twice a month. In the past, they had a giant extravaganza. This year, she's having 100 parties instead of one big party. They're doing 100.
Wow.
She came during my birthday on May the 4th. She was there. She came dressed as Princess Leia. It was It was spectacular.
See, now that's somebody who
But that's an
loves-
emotional connection.
Yes, exactly.
That we have. We have. Another Danny Meyer thing is. One of historically a guest that is not treated well in a restaurant, from high end to the local fast food restaurant, is the guest that comes in by themselves. And Danny talks about that they should be the guest treated the best, not the least. The server. You see somebody, or the restaurateur or whatever it is, you see somebody coming in by themselves and they think money. How much money could they possibly spend? How much money could I possibly make off of somebody? Well, they're in between appointments. Maybe they lost their spouse yesterday or 2 weeks ago, and they just are alone. And whatever the reasons are that they're dining by themselves. Well, if you treat them with exceptional hospitality, and you're versus thinking about the money, they're going to go back to their friends and their family and say, you know what, I went to Max and Louie's, I went to Alan's restaurant, I went to Susie's restaurant, and you can't believe the way they treated us or me. That's the way they and that's what I'm trying to achieve every day.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so smart.
That's good.
Okay, Alan,
So-
I gave you a filler there.
Yeah, no. Well, what I was going to say is what he talks about in the book quite a bit is that you want the customer to know that you're on their side.
Yes.
That you're on their side.
Yeah,
That's
which is kind of
important.
what it's easy not to.
Yeah.
I actually think it's easier to than not to. But, again, and I'm a tangent kind of guy, so you'll excuse whatever. But, there's a bunch of restaurants that have been, in the paper or, online or whatever it is that are closing, and they're blaming, COVID and staffing and cost of eggs and blah, 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 all those things. Well, I honestly, we experience every single thing that these, and I'll raise my prices before I will give an inferior product or reduce the quality, the quantity. We had to raise our prices for some of our sandwiches, and just about anything, right? But we've increased the portion. We increase, we never take away the integrity of the product at the cost of the customer, and that's a big problem. A chef, a fancy chef that I was with a few weeks ago, said, "Oh, why don't you just take an ounce off of the sandwich? Nobody will know." Well, you know what? My customers will know.
Yeah.
And I refuse to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you do get so much love because of. I mean, we get people posting on our San Antonio restaurant group all the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, putting pictures and everything. I was going to say too, in reference to what you were talking about of the lone diner, everything. Whether it's good or whether it's bad, goes out into the world. So, you're exactly right. I mean, that lone diner is going to go and tell their friends. They're going to tell their family. But the same happens in the other way. So it's so important. I think that's why your radical hospitality is such a fanatical.
Yeah.
Fanatical.
Yeah.
That's right.
Going radical.
That's right. It'll be going radical soon.
So I'm wondering if your employees come first, what do you do with customers that have complaints? How do you handle that? Especially if you think the customer's wrong, that the server didn't do anything wrong, or they did deliver exactly what they ordered, but the customer doesn't want to acknowledge that or whatever.
And I made a note to make sure that we talked about it. But, I wrote 1-star versus 5-star. If you look at Max and Louie's, whether it's Google or Facebook or all the different, areas of, that people have an opportunity to write a review.
Right.
And there are a lot, and people do write a lot. And historically, the people write longer things when they have an issue than they'll write a 5-star and they'll just write food was great, service was great.
Yeah.
If they have whatever their problem was, they'll write,
details.
Right.
pages.
Right.
So we read every single one. And we get hundreds and hundreds, and we have thousands of reviews. And again, very thankful, for all that. We got a 1-star review a couple of days ago. They pop up on my screen, and the first thing I do is look. I used to get nauseous, when I would,
I've been on the phone with you a couple of times when you've gotten a bad review.
yeah, and
It's never fun.
but the only time I was ever on the phone with you, and this is exactly what I was going to get at with this review that came out yesterday. We got 6 5s and 1 1. And I open up the 1. I open up everything.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
And we're trying to get our systems in place to make sure we reply to every single one. And that's
smart.
That's
Yeah,
coming.
that's
And
good.
we do a lot, but we don't do I'm not as good as I could be. But the 1-star, the first thing I do is I go to their where they are, and I look and see all their other reviews. And this particular guy, not 1 or 2, every single thing that he reviewed had a 1-star. Everyone had a 1-star.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whether it was a lot of restaurants of every category, but it was the dentist, it was the tire place,
Everything.
it was the whatever it is. So I look at that first before we go in and apologize or get mad or whatever. The food is great. We normally love Max and Louie's, but the service from this particular server was atrocious or something like that.
And I'll never go back again.
And I'll never go back
Right,
again. They
right.
love it so much. One experience with a server, according to them, will keep them from coming back.
Right.
And I once got in trouble, for saying, we're gonna, the person's trying to save the world from a dry pastrami sandwich. Right? I mean, we are fanatical about having everything right. I was at my own restaurant yesterday, and there was something that my wife and I got. We had lunch,
Yeah.
and there was something that I got that I didn't love. Right? And if I don't love it, that means that the guests are getting it, right? So I called over the server, I called over the manager, I explained, I don't blow my stack or whatever it is. I explain what the issues are and why we need to make sure that every time this is the way. And I said, I don't get mad about, that you served me something. I get mad because if you serve me something, that means everybody else is getting it.
Right.
And these are just, so the 1-stars, they have to be educational. But you have to do your research before you respond. If you respond to every single 1-star, I'm sorry, that you didn't like it or whatever it is, then that's just fueling the fire of those 1-star writers.
Yeah.
But if we did something, there has to be a reason that somebody went and wrote a 1-star.
Yeah.
They don't just walk in every place they go to write it, but they have an inclination to write it when they're sparked. And that's what we try to get out of it.
Right.
And to be honest, a person like this that wrote that 1 star and every single one with 1 star, I just don't even respond.
Yeah.
I don't respond. What are we getting out of it, right? You're gonna, you can start a fire with all the other people who are either going to be against that person or
Join in.
join in,
jump
and
on
it
the
just
train.
becomes something that's not, not worth,
Yeah.
worthwhile. So it's it's a ticklish, scenario on how to deal with these things, but they should be dealt with somehow.
Yeah.
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 So, look at them.
Yes, and I love that, like you said. I mean, the ones that need attention, you'll jump in and figure out what went wrong and then fix it. And I think that's
There's got to be something you can glean from every single experience, not just the reviews. Every experience
Everything, yeah.
in the restaurant.
Right.
I'm fanatical about cleanliness, right? The place, it's the original side of the restaurant's it's 8 years old in a few weeks, right? And you should be able to, of course we don't, and I'm joking or whatever it is, but you should feel comfortable. The bathroom should be clean enough that you felt comfortable enough to eat in there. Now, that sounds so silly and whatever it is, but you go to a restaurant and their bathroom's dirty, what's their kitchen like?
Yeah.
Right? I'm very proud, actually. We got another 100 health score yesterday.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Those are all, you don't know when they're coming.
Yeah.
So we have a 100 score checklist that we just recently implemented, and we shoot for 100 every single day on our own. So when the surprise comes,
You're ready.
not like, oh my God, that guy's a jerk. I
Right.
can't believe he did this. Well, you did this in most cases because you're doing something wrong.
Right.
Can we be perfect when you're open 18 hours a day, 7 days a week with 100 employees and 8,000 customers? Very hard. But we strive for it every single time.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Wow. Very good. Well, with that, let's stop and take a break, and we will be right back with more from Drew Glick
Yes, we
of
will.
Max and Louie's New York Diner.
If you don't know me, my name is David Dyken. I'm with San Antonio PS. We are the local SkyTab sales and service office here in San Antonio, Texas. We come in with no money up front. We take a copy of the merchant's menu. We program it. We professionally install it. We train them how to use it and provide unlimited support for both the hardware and the software. We're on site today at Max and Louie's, probably one of the most demanding hospitality environments here in San Antonio. And they're a great showcase for our technology. We have kitchen display systems. We have tableside ordering and payment devices, integrated online ordering for one of our favorite customers. So some of the features that you can enjoy with your POS system as a merchant is you'll have an included free loyalty program, a gift card program, free integration with third-party companies like DoorDash and Uber Eats, inventory control systems. We have a reservations module, lots of freebies that you're going to be paying a premium price for with other systems. There's no money up front. There's no risk to a merchant when they come on board. They pay for shipping and shipping only. They get to use the equipment for 30 days. If they don't like it at the end of the 30 days, you just ship it back. No obligation. At the end of 60 days, if they're happy with their system and they want to keep it, then we give them a $5,000 sign-on bonus just for coming on board. So it helps defray all costs for getting your new POS system. I'm David Dyken with San Antonio POS. Come visit us at sanantoniopos.com. Thanks.
Welcome back to The More You Know, The Better It Tastes. And we are, just to remind you, we have Drew Glick here today. He is the owner, the mastermind behind Max and Louie's New York Diner at 226 West Bidders Road.
Takes a lot of masterminds, to be honest.
Yeah, but you were smart. I think San Antonio was just needing a diner at that point. When you opened Max and Louie's, you said it's been 8 years?
In September's 8 years.
8 years.
September 2016.
We didn't really have anything like
Crazy.
that. And there's still not very much like that. So, you just hit the right idea of what type of restaurant to put in.
So it's funny on my little note sheet, it says not original, just, and then I didn't fill in after. It's really not so original.
Okay.
There's a lot of places that you can get pancakes. There's a lot of places you can get burgers. There's a lot of places you can get pizza. There's whatever it is. But we are fanatical about taking all those items and providing an experience that exceeds guests' expectations. Right? I mean, it's so, and again, what makes this place work and this place not? You know, I mean, there's so many factors, you know, that make it work. Also confidence and but a lot of it is honestly hard work. For the first 2 years, I worked 7 days a week, 18 hours a day.
Wow.
And when my wife laughs because, you know, I say, oh, I'm not working as much. You know, I don't go in at 7 in the morning. I don't come home at 10 o'clock at night as much these days. But she says that's not true, because I come home and then I go to my office in my house and I'm working on menus. I'm working on you know, whatever. I just can't help myself.
Yeah.
You know, my best ideas come in the shower. It sounds weird, but you know, it's kind of like my little fortress of solitude. Yeah. And that's where I come up with, you know, ideas.
So have you
and
always
things.
had that entrepreneurial?
Yeah.
Yes. It's. I mean, I think it's good in a way. I mean, it's. I remember when I was a kid, my father once took me to visit a friend who ran a beach club on Long Island. It's right on the ocean. You know, if you ever saw the Flamingo Kid, if you're not it's a fun movie actually to watch. But I worked at this, you know, I actually worked at this beach club in the summer. But my father takes me there to go visit his friend Joe, and a whole bunch of guys are staining beach chairs. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I've never done anything like that. And I said, hey, you want to leave me here and I'll just help them? I didn't even care about getting paid. I just kind of thought it was just something I never did before. Yeah. And I was miserable when I was done because I was covered in stain and all this stuff. Now everything's just made out of resin. And just throw it out at the end of the season. But it was kind of interesting.
Wow. So Beverly talks a lot. I may have even asked you this question the first time we had you on the podcast, because Beverly has talked a lot about when we go to a restaurant, she'll say the food was good, but it just wasn't fun. And I know exactly what she means, but I have a really hard time describing that. But I know it does all come back to hospitality is what that is. And you mentioned earlier, it's the whole package. It's the food, it's the ambiance, it's the hospitality and how you're treated and everything. Can you define what makes a restaurant fun?
Yeah, it's interesting because people walk into Max and Louie's and they feel like there's an atmosphere. I mean, they're Formica tables, and you know, there's decorations that I just came up with, and it's But first of all, color. The red wall, the red tile walls and the white, subway, in other areas, and just the nuances here and there. I think the cleanliness is again part of is a big part of atmosphere. And people comment. You would expect people to comment about your food and your service. They comment about our music. They comment about,
Sinatra and that type of stuff, right?
Yeah, and it changes. It's I mean, it's all kinds of things. It's sort of almost mood, and there's companies that actually do this for places where the music changes throughout the day for a change in mood. I mean, when you're there in the morning, you don't necessarily want to hear the same thing, at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Or if you're a late night place, you want a different cocktail, atmosphere than you do as a breakfast atmosphere. So there's different things that you can do on your own. I mean, for the first 2 years, I took a friend here who had never been to New York, and we went to, it was the year that Jimmy Fallon took over the Tonight Show. And we went to see the Tonight Show, and it was the week of Christmas, and when we left, they gave everybody an iPad.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just like,
cool.
everybody, it was the week of Christmas, so it was like almost like Oprah would give out the, gifts. So he did, so that day was iPads, the day before was a Vitamix, the day before, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
So he gave out iPads. And that iPad ran the music at Max and Louie's for the first 2 years.
Cool. I love it.
It was kind of funny. Now we have a professional system just to cover all the legal aspects of that you have to have in places, especially our profile.
Yeah.
But I just think it's there's so many again it's a package. It's not there's not one answer to anything. There's a package of good atmosphere, good food, good service. All those things have tentacles of what makes up those things.
Yeah, it's so interesting because we talk about this all the time, that I think people are now looking for an experience. You know, when they go out, they want an experience. And I remember the first time coming into Max and Louie's and thinking, wow, I just thought it was the coolest, you know, and you're right, you know, the bright colors. And we had just taken a trip to New York, so it was so fun to, you know, we were visiting the diners there, and it was so fun to walk in and, I don't know, kind of relive that experience and see the subway signs. And it was just really neat. It's a cool experience. It's a fun environment, like Alan said. And then, yeah, you're right. It's a whole package put together.
It's also, you know, Max and Louie's is very big. It's not typical. I mean, it's almost 8,000 square feet right now. We'll talk about what's coming up. It's big. So you walk in and it's like, whoa, what happens next?
Yeah.
You know, whatever it is. It's a little, you know, can be overwhelming, but you get hit in the face with the cakes and the display.
Beautiful.
You know,
Right there in front of
and,
you.
you know, and its color and its, you know, and its lighting, and, you know, there's so many things that make it up. And to me, the host and our staff, the greeting that you get is probably one of the most critical things.
Sure.
You know, if you walk in the door and you're just, hey, move to your right, versus, hey, welcome to Max and Louie's. We're so glad you're here. We'll be right with you. Blah, blah, you know, whatever the you know situation
and then they're yelling bye to you when you leave.
Yeah, and then hopefully they're yelling bye when you leave.
I'm always walking out there. Oh, bye.
Bye. Yeah. And that comes with time and training and being fanatical.
Yeah.
I'm overusing the word a little bit, but it's what we live by.
Yeah.
And my staff talk fanatical.
That's great.
Right.
Your staff talks fanatical?
I'm saying they talk our fanatical hospitality. They buy in. We you know, ingrain it from the first day, and we say it a lot, and we just talk about it. And if you don't get it, I'm not saying you're not a good person, but it may not be the right place for you to be.
So,
work.
So we do these, for those of you who don't know, we do these round tables, and where we invite restaurant owners to come out and just to get to know each other, you know, and talk about different things going on within their businesses and learn from each other. Yep. And you have been such an influence on so many of the different, I think, restaurant owners around. We hear it all the time. So I think that, you know, you're spreading this information and kind of putting it out there. It's really helping other restaurants to find that success and try these.
Well, thanks for saying that. And again, it's just part of my personality. I just can't help myself.
It's
amazing.
Yeah.
I'm very, very thankful for our success in the last, you know, certainly since COVID, but, you know, in the last, you know, since we opened up Max and Louie's. I mean, I had another restaurant that I gained a good reputation, but it was an impossible place to make a living. So we closed it after, you know, 3 years. Just another, I mean, we paid our staff a bonus to stay till the last day, and we didn't owe one penny to one vendor, to one employer at the end. You know, it just wasn't.
That's amazing.
It wasn't the right place.
Yeah,
it wasn't the right place. It just, you know, location really. It was, and even the whole theme of it was just it was good, but it wasn't different enough. And and I was new in the business also. You know, so but I love helping. I want people to be successful. The whole, you know, competition is good. It's not, you know, what's the point of having people fail in the business?
Yeah. That's wonderful. I mean, because it's. I know that it's not like that everywhere. So
I could sit here all day and blame the, you know, for a while we use about 10,000 eggs a week, 10,000 eggs a week, and at one point they were 46 cents for one egg.
Wow.
When I opened up Max and Louie's, they were 9 cents. To 46 cents. I mean, that's thousands of dollars a week for one item out of 800 items that we buy every day. So to blame, you know, the cost of eggs and the cost of limes or the cost of avocados or whatever the item is at the demise of your restaurant, to me is just, you know, it's short-sighted.
Yeah.
You know, you got to just work hard. You got to figure out and hopefully you can build a business that, you know, that can sustain these you know, issues.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Amazing, the amount of stuff you have to buy. Are there trends in hospitality, or does the same thing that worked in the 80s work now?
Oh, it's a good question. Are there trends in hospitality? Well, for one, it's just the whole hospitality trend was, I think it was a little more, and again, I wasn't in the business then. My father was in the catering business my whole life, but I was young, and then I went out, and then I left for 18 years, and then came back to the food business. So I don't know the exact. I just think that there's always trends. My uncle used to say, there's nothing's original. It's just what you do with the idea to make it your own, kind of thing. I just made that up, but it's, I think you can understand what I'm saying. Avocado and toast. Let's put them on the thing. Maybe that'll be, and we actually don't even serve that for some reason. But there's so many, there's things that you're just doing that get trendy. I honestly didn't put avocado toast on the menu because I just thought it was going to be a trendy thing that went away, and now it's still there. So maybe I should put it. Maybe I should put it on.
Well, I bet if somebody asks for it and you have avocados, you could do it.
And that's actually a very good point. It's another thing that's makes Max and Louie's what it is. We don't say no. In training, almost in the very beginning of training, we tell our staff. The only reason we would ever say no to a guest if it's literally impossible for us to get. Now, you're not supposed to do this, and we never do this. But when I had my first restaurant, I had a guest that came in. It was two couples. The husband was going through chemotherapy, and he asked for a non-alcoholic beer. And I had just opened, and I had no idea. I was so overwhelmed in everything or whatever it was. And he said, "Do you have do you have any O'Doul's or whatever it was? Do you have any alcohol beer?" And I said, "Of course we do." And I ran across the street and I got a 6-pack. Now you're not allowed to do that and whatever it is, and we don't do anything like
hospitality.
that. We don't do anything. Well, for years, and thank God the man survived and thrived and whatever it is. And every time I saw him, even when we opened up Max and Louie's, every time he would talk about it and talk about it and talk about it. And I didn't do it for that reason.
Right.
I just did it as, this guy went through a lot, and what's the big deal for me? And I should have had it. Right?
That's so cool.
But we're born to say no. I'm convinced that we come out of the first words.
Our first word.
No. my grandson, who's 18 months old, whatever it is, he just shakes his head and says no.
Yeah.
No. And so we have to retrain everybody to say that no is not always the answer.
I love that story. So have you seen the show The Bear? Or Bear?
Yeah, it actually, I think it came out again last night. I didn't see it last night. Yeah.
So one of my favorite scenes is when they're at this particular restaurant who has Fanatical Hospitality.
Right, he's learning how to clean a fork or something.
Yeah. And so, and one of the guests wanted something that they did not have on their menu. And I mean, they're running out all the way down the street, getting that particular item, running back, and then, serving it to him. And
well, there's actually...
They actually stole that line from that book.
I love it.
Well, it's not from this book. It's called, I think, Irresistible Hospitality or something. It was a guy who took over one of Danny Meyer's restaurants, and somebody, they were in New York, and they wanted, they couldn't believe, the server couldn't believe that they didn't have a hot dog off a street cart. And they ran to a street cart, got it, and then but they prepared it on a plate in their way, so it's kind of that thing.
Yes. No, I think I thought that was so I love that story.
That was amazing.
Well, this has been fun. I've really enjoyed talking about hospitality, Fanatical Hospitality, but we want to spend a little bit of time talking back about your restaurant because you have some big news. You have a new next door neighbor coming into your restaurant. Tell us about that.
Yes, it's a definite work in progress. I'm hoping that it has to be open by November 9th because that's my daughter's wedding, and we're doing a little event at Max and Louie's. But so we're opening a place called Melvin's. And I'll explain Melvin's. But it's going to be a homemade ice cream, espresso, and bakery.
Oh, interesting.
Wow.
Small. Very few seats inside, if any. It's going to be attached. We're going to be cutting a hole through the wall between Max and Louie's and that. So it's kind of under one roof-ish, but it's called Melvin's. So Max was my great uncle. Louie was my grandfather. My father's name was Melvin.
I love it.
He went by Mel. So Louie's son was Melvin. One of my friends Alan, who actually did all the flooring and all the counters and everything at Max and Louie's, he said, "Why don't you call it Melvin's?" And I'm like, let's go to Melvin's and get some ice cream. So we're going to make homemade ice cream.
That sounds it's an old-fashioned name.
It does.
Yeah, so yeah.
And it's going to have a little bit of that vintage, look. We're working on all that. So I was, hesitant to even approach it today, but it's fine. It's happening. We already started working on the space. So there was another little restaurant there next door. They, lost their lease, and we took over the space. Honestly, even if I didn't do anything, I was going to take the space just so we, had storage. And but in the meantime, we're moving our whole bakery operation into the back. We're building a new bakery, so we're going to bake all our own.
That'd be so
we're
nice.
baking everything now, but it's in a little kitchen that's
Right.
that's
not made for that.
Not made for that.
Yep.
So we're going to build a bakery, and in the front, about third of the restaurant, we're building Melvin's.
Yeah.
It'll have cool seating outside and inside, and a new awning and a new logo, and
So
and
cool.
all this stuff.
So that'll be
And,
amazing. So because for those of you who sometimes go to Max and Louie's, I mean, there's lines. There's some pretty significant. So that'll be great. So you can pop into Melvin's and have some coffee and have an ice cream.
So right
that's
now
cool.
it's part of Max and Louie's. We're just calling it Melvin's. We'll see if it becomes something. Who knows? I mean, I think it has the concept could work, and maybe we'll open up more of them.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah,
I don't even
and
know.
That'll
what's
help
going
expand
on.
your kitchen as well,
Yes.
which will be amazing.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. And so I'm gearing for hopefully for the beginning of October for it to be open. I'll stay in touch with
So
you.
will
with
we
you
be
guys.
invited to the grand opening?
Of course you will be.
Okay.
I don't know about my daughter's wedding,
Yeah.
but maybe a few weeks before.
Okay,
maybe
perfect.
a few weeks before.
That's perfect.
But
Fantastic.
so it's going to be really cool.
Yeah,
and
that is
fun,
amazing.
and it'll have a lot of the similar atmosphere and hospitality flavor that
So
Max
for those
and
of
Louie's
you
has.
who don't know, I mean, the amount of, for example, challah bread and the baking that goes on it's unbelievable.
Yeah, well, our number one selling item is French toast. on
Yeah,
our
your
menu.
challah French toast. Yes,
And we bake probably more now, but about 1,500 loaves of challah bread a
Wow.
week.
Crazy.
But we also bake our
Amazing.
hoagie rolls and all our other, and most
Yeah.
of our other bread items. We make all our own cookies. We make our own muffins. We make a lot of things.
You make
the only
those
thing
black and white
What's that?
cookies?
We make our black and whites.
Oh,
we make
they're
our
so
chocolate.
so good. I know.
And we bake a lot of things. Melvin's is going to have a lot. We're going to do a lot of things with ice cream sandwiches. So we're going to use a lot of our cookies and things. So
Fun.
and get creative with with that, and some flavors of ice cream that
I
rime
love
with
it.
with some of the things we're doing over there. And
Yeah, so
we may even have donuts. So we're working on that.
Oh,
We're working on that.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Yeah. So I recently purchased some blintzes, which for those
yeah,
of
right.
yes, they were.
Did you do a good job?
Oh my gosh, they were a hit. They were a total hit. But everything was so fresh. That was what I loved about it. It was just so fresh. It was like they were. It was.
It's funny. We don't promote it as much maybe as I should now, whatever it is. But we've become like 95% scratch.
Yes.
Certain things that
You could tell.
don't make. Marie and Ken can make dressings more consistent than I can.
Right,
so
right.
I'm happy. I don't hide anything. I don't claim anything, whatever it is. But a lot of things we make from scratch because I wasn't able to just get it the way I wanted it. So we just decided, like those blintzes, I used to buy them and they were amazing. During COVID, like Pillsbury or something bought the company and shut it down. So like every hotel and restaurant that used blintzes in the country in one day lost their
Oh
supply.
wow.
So we started making them from scratch. So we make the crepes from scratch. We make the filling. It's Benny Keith brings in. This is sponsored by Benny Keith Foods.
I
whatever,
wish.
on and on and on.
Benny
It's
Keith,
not,
if you're
but it
listening,
can be.
yeah, I was going to say, Benny Keith, if you're listening.
You never know. Maybe we can work
That's
that out.
right.
I bleed Benny Keith blue.
Okay, good. No, they were. You could tell. You could tell that they were.
Yeah.
They were really good.
Thank you.
It's amazing.
Very good. Well, Drew, thank you very much for being here today. We really appreciate
Yeah,
having you.
it was-
And
it's always
my
so much
pleasure.
fun.
Yeah,
On
I love doing it, and you guys, just a little, pat on the back to the two of you. I mean, the fact that you came from just hey, let's just start a little thing on Facebook to having how many 250,000? I mean,
Pretty well across our board. It's
239,000.
and across our
239.
board, it's about 270,000 followers.
Yeah, I mean that's
amazing.
that's unbelievable,
cool.
and you manage it very well.
Thank
You
you.
know,
Thank
you
you.
manage it very, very well, which is good. A lot of these things, they just become. Am I allowed to use? They become sessions. Yeah, they become sessions where people just have a place an outlet to complain, and that's not what it's all about. It's about being helpful and not being some complaining helps, but But so I just want to say, you and Beverly and Susie, you guys do an amazing job, and I appreciate you keeping me involved.
And I've got to pass that along to our moderators and admins that help us because they do it.
They're amazing too.
They just do it because they love what we're doing. So anyway, well, thank you.
Yeah, this was wonderful. We already knew. We were like, who do we want as our first video podcast? It was Drew.
Hopefully I look good.
Yeah. I mean, we tried a whole bunch of other people, and they all said no. So we came down to you.
That's
so.
not true.
I was. What was I? 7?
No.
7.
No, you were 1.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, Susie, we will be back again next week with another great interview.
Yes. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Everyone, don't forget to share. All right.
And
Danny
read the
Myers
book.
setting the table.
Read the book.
Amen. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
That was so good.